Welcome to the Reverberations podcast, where we explore the human experience and the journey of self-discovery. Welcome to another episode of Reverberations. As always, it's an honor to share this time and space with you. And today I am deeply grateful to be able to share this time with author, inspirational speaker, spiritual teacher, and energy worker, Brandy Tuttle. We came into contact through my partner, Aaliyah, who Aaliyah works with her in her practice in Jackson, Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And through our conversations, we just began to realize that there is a synergy that is there with what we are up to in the world. And the more that I learned about Brandy and was finding out about her work and her voice and her presence and what she is standing for, there was no question at all to be able to have her on Reverberations, because as our listeners know, this podcast is all about reverberating the message throughout this planet to bring forth a more sustainable and a harmonious co-creative experience for all, for everybody in humanity. So without further ado, I want to open it up to Brandy. And Brandy, share a little bit with us about your story, what you're up to, and what you're of service to. And again, it's truly an honor to have you on our show today.
Oh, thank you so much, John. I appreciate you having me here. It is absolutely an honor. I appreciate everything that you're doing for the world. And yeah, just that we've come into each other's realm is really beautiful at just the right time, I would say.
Absolutely. On purpose, on time.
Always. Yeah. So, I've been in the energy work world and working with spirit my entire life. I've had many opportunities in my lifetime to lean into spirit because there were no other options. In my book that I wrote called Grateful, Powerful, Strong, and the subtitle is Next Level Navigation for the Spiritual Warrior, I actually chronicle a lot of those stories. I guess it kind of is, in essence, the building of who I am. And it was the infrastructure of what I needed to be to become who I am. And when I say who I needed to be, was at that time to be able to get me through those scenarios, because I've been through a multitude of physical ailments. Actually, that's how my primary education in this life has come to fruition. And it was just through doctors not having the next right step for me and not having anything to really lean into of this Western medicine world and of this physical world, and also not coming from a lot of abundance in my upbringing. I wasn't raised wealthy, so when I came to a place where I was a young adult, all of a sudden, I'm looking at these diagnoses, knowing that I needed to get through them somehow without insurance and without any money to speak of as a single mom and a lot of the things. And so what I had to lean into was my cultural upbringing. And my mom was a culmination of 4 different tribes from the Northwest, but my dad actually raised us Lakota. And so my upbringing is steeped deeply in spirit. It is steeped with the most incredible capacity and faith and ability to lean into spirit to move the needle of this physical world. And I needed that so badly throughout my life. And I was really grateful to have been born into a people who understand that to the degree that they do and live so in harmony with the earth and with the world, and to be able to draw on those powers when I needed the most. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so powerful. And thank you. There's one thing that you shared there that really just tapped into something so powerful, is moving the needle in the physical world. Yes. And, you were talking about the experiences that you've had in growing up, because I feel we can go to any school, right? We can go to any university. However, it's earth school. Earth school and spirit school teach us more than anything else. So can you share some of the experiences? Because one of the things, grateful, powerful, strong, those are powerful words and to lead with grateful, right? That is so important, because the practice of gratitude is really what it's all about. Tapping into our own internal power, right?
Oh my gosh, it's everything, John. As you know, it's everything.
Yeah.
The energy work that I do has to lead with that grace, with that appreciation, with that gratitude. Because all of a sudden, that gratitude releases any binds, any desperation, any of that clamoring, that clinging to the what if, and any fears are completely eradicated when you bring forth that the gratitude. And so everything that I do energy work wise has to lead with that. And it does not matter the caliber of issue that you are looking at. It literally does not matter. You have the capacity to bring that grace into that space. And it is by tapping and tuning in and leaning into the very basis of who we are, and who we are ultimately is love. And we came here to this earth school where we are somewhere in between the greatest good and the deepest despair at all times, because earth school has infinite possibilities. You know, we can get into a whole lot of different podcasts talking about dimensions and everything that is all happening simultaneously, but we'll rein it in to just be what we have got right here on this earth. The key is gratitude, and the key is love. And when you have that, all of a sudden that is capable of being the light that can pierce through any fog of any scenario. Yeah.
So do you find that in the challenges that you were speaking to growing up is feeling into that capacity of grace in challenge, and then being able to, I love what you said, is who we are is love. It's essentially just remembering who we are.
Absolutely.
Getting out of our own way. Right.
Yeah, bringing it forth, because when we are here, we have this illusion, as you know, this amnesia, if you will, that here we are, we think that we are one thing, but really, my goodness, we are so much. We are absolutely one with absolutely everything. And so wouldn't it make sense that there's nothing that can't be overcome when you align in the right way? So, you know, along with having the physical challenges with my health, I also had been born very strategically. You know, I'm sure that my soul chose this. That's, you know, I knew that I came here to experience responsibility and get really good with responsibility, and to be able to stand in a very solo space and rise to the occasion. And in that space, my soul said, okay, I'm going to be born to these parents. They're older. And they are going to pass away relatively young. So it's going to leave me to stand in this space of leadership. I'm going to have siblings that have already passed. I'm going to be in a position where I have nothing around me of the physical world, but the only thing that I've got is spirit. But that is all that we need. And so now my belief and faith and understanding of the spirit realm is so vast, because I could be standing in a stadium full of people that question what they're here for, question that there is anything of spirit. Is spirit even real? And I could stand on that stadium and speak these stories with such irrevocable confidence because of everything that I've gone through. And I appreciate that so much. So even, you know, all the things having gone through, you know, the loss of, you know, my sister when I was 15, and when she passed, she actually commits suicide. And that actually is a story that I chronicle in my book, because just as we have the greatest good, we also have some of the darkest dark that also can try to derail us while we're here in this, on this journey. And I'm still learning so much, but I've come a long way to understand how to navigate through some of those darker moments. Because if we are in what my daughter teases and says, these meat suits, if we are here and we are walking around as human beings, we are going to have challenges. And so to know how to navigate through those is really important, and also to understand where they come from. So there's really this really strong way of being right now in kind of the new age community that really wants to believe that there is only love and light. And
Right.
my experience walking this journey is not just love and light, that there are these challenges. Now, ultimately, what I believe our soul is absolutely love and light, of course. And is that the key? Oh, absolutely.
Right.
But it is a matter of using those to be able to then be that bright light that then anything that is of darkness that is around you doesn't affect you. And when you really lean into, in my culture, we call it a hochoka, that center within you. When you bring forth that light from within, you become that lighthouse. And it doesn't matter if there is a hurricane happening out there, you are safe within this lighthouse. And you can see that the storm approaching, and you can see it in all its fury. And it will come and it will just beat around you. And you can stand in observation of this. And that is what is so incredibly beautiful about embodying all that you are inside and leading and navigating with that. So just as you become that lighthouse during that hurricane, you also have that capacity to be able to rise above, that when that hurricane passes and you can see it, distancing itself, and you can look around and you can see the aftermath of this storm, and you can also see the rainbow. You have this other vantage point. And boy, I navigate with that every day of my life, and it gets me through, because we're never going to not have our challenges. We can manifest a lot, but boy, oh boy, we need to lean into those opportunities. And one thing that I think about is a year and a half ago, my sister, who is 14 years older than me, she passed away. And it was her request that her daughters didn't tell the family. Now, in my culture, boy, that's not something that we do. In our culture, we have a very strong way of tending to our loved ones when they pass. So her wish to not have the family know quite yet really kind of went against, a lot of our beliefs. On the same note, did it really matter? I am at a place now that I realize, Donna is on the other side. She's great. And we are over here and we're fine. The protocols and those kinds of things didn't need to happen exactly on those 4 days that traditionally they would have. That my understanding now is that if they did, that would be great. That would be wonderful. But did they need to? Is there time or space in spirit? No. So is there ways that we can affect the past from right now? Absolutely. Same way we can lean into the future and tap in, tune in, lean in, and recreate our future as we know it. Because all of it is really ultimately happening at the same time. So a lot of the energy work that I do, my guides that I work so closely with, they refer to it as an RPM session, standing for regression and then progression and coming back to the center in manifestation. And I laughed, because they have this whole theme going with me. I've got GPS, I've got spiritual navigation. Now we've got RPM. So of course the RPM session is going to just kind of like pedal to the metal and get you to where you want to go spiritually.
Well, launch
Absolutely. Pad. You bet. And the more you do the RPM, you rev your RPMs, all of a sudden, you're going to clear the slate, you're going to clear those blocks, you're going to get to a higher level much quicker. So that was very cool. But, tandeming a little bit onto that story still with my sister, Donna, the morning that I actually found out that she had passed, I'm standing here at my station, at my business here in Jackson, and waiting for my client. And I'm kind of a little bit miffed with her. And I'm so used to working with spirit and talking with spirit and, really tuning in. And I could feel her right there. And I was like, you know what, Donna, and I had my conversation. And I said, I'd really like to go see the girls and your son. And I could just feel this really strong yes. And right there, she told me, on Monday, there's going to be an airline ticket for $147. I need you to buy that. And I believe it was a Tuesday that I was in here and I found out about her passing. And the following day, I was getting ready to fly down and I was going to be in Arizona. I've got a home down there in Sedona. And so I knew I was going to be down in Arizona anyway. So I went to the computer and pulled up Priceline and looked at Monday, and there it is at 8:45 a.m., $147 from Phoenix to Seattle. And then I start arguing with my sister, as sisters do. And I said, yes, but my daughter, Malia, she's working. She doesn't have but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday off. And she's like, no, somebody's going to cover for her. Go ahead and buy the ticket. So I bought the tickets. Yeah. And then I get in touch with Malia and I send her this message. And I said, hey, baby girl, we're going to be flying up to Seattle on Monday. And right away, she's like, Mom, I have to work. And then I just let it set for a moment. And she gets back to me. She says, oh, that's all right. Marissa said she was going to cover for me.
Of course. I love spirit works in such wondrous ways.
It is. So, whether it be the deepest stuff, like getting through cancer and those kinds of things, because those are some of the things that I've needed to lean into spirit for, or an airline ticket. There is no, there is nothing that keeps
There's no bounds.
No bounds at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. One thing I want to bring it back to is, we're talking about being here in our school, right? And everything being love and light in the spiritual community. And it's one of the challenges that I have confronted time and time again, because there's also something that we brought forth and you shared in the conversation is contrast, right? And opportunities for growth. And can we really have love without chaos or chaos without love? It's, in a sense, polarity. And, there was something that was shared actually by Dr. John Churchill, I believe. And he shared that darkness, and in the spiritual community, we tend to not tap in, or we tend to not necessarily utilize the darkness, the power that is there, because traditionally the power is like in Star Wars, the power is in the dark side, using the Force, right? In the dark side. And on the spiritual community, or light workers, or energy workers, or anything that's associated with spirit, in especially current day spirituality, is having an aversion to that,
shunning it,
right? Though there's, and he said this one very powerful thing is, first, it's acknowledging it, that the power is there. Though the light will never win if we don't learn to accept the polarity of that power. And I'm paraphrasing this, is to accept that darkness and utilize the power that is available, because the darkness always wins, because over here trying to be focused on just the light. So there's right action, right? There's right relationship. There's also righteous anger. Of where we have to be able to utilize that. Otherwise, we are continuously suppressed and oppressed by that darkness, by that energy, by that power. So the aversion, I love that you spoke to that, of like being the lighthouse in the hurricane. And then after the hurricane, being able to observe and witness the devastation that is there. And then look at it as one of two ways. We can look at it as a complete devastation and destruction, and the world is absolute poo-poo, right? And we're just destined for destruction. Or we could look at that and say, this is a natural occurrence, and it's an event that gives us an opportunity to rebuild, to be able to recognize that and move forward with this opportunity of growth. And so you talked about something before about bringing it forth and bringing that love forth, bringing the message of what we inherently and innately know deep within. Can you speak to bringing that forth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So many things are coming to mind. So, one of the times that I had these cancer cells, in my culture, we have what we call homblecha, which is basically, in modern terminology, you can liken it to vision quest. But for us, it is a way that we can transcend the physical world, that the physical aspect of who we are kind of gets out of the way, if you can think of it like that. Because when we are doing Humblecha, we don't have water, we don't have food, it is just us in our raw form. And wherever you do Humblecha, you know, that is up to you. But where I have done Humblecha is a sacred site in South Dakota, and it is where my people and and many tribes have come together to do this, and it's a very powerful place. So I already used that term Hochoka, which is our center within us. And we need to understand, of course, this power of the center within us. But we also need to understand that there are these centers, these Hochokas, these hotspots, if you will, of energy centers throughout the earth. And there are natural places that harness a higher vibration, a higher frequency. And is it a merging of what Mahaina, Mother Earth, what she brings forward, as well as merging with who we are when we are there? Yes. And is it also the layer upon layer upon layer of generations past and people past come together to pray in that way, and we just create layer upon layer? So when I do the energy work that I do and all the things that I've been through, the healings, what made them so powerful are the layers that we bring forth. Because what are we? We are mind, we are body, we are spirit, we are the elements, we are the earth, the air, the fire, the water, we are the flesh, we are the blood, we're the lymphatic, we are the oxygen that we breathe, and we are that hochakar, that fire, that spark that keeps us alive. So does it not make sense to utilize all those tools to ascend to even greater heights and to create this channel, if you will, to healing? One of the times that I was up there on this mountain where I have done Humblecha my entire life, and I was up there with this really strong scenario, having these cells that had gone wrong, knowing that I needed to transmute this on my own. I needed to meet with spirit in that way. And my greatest teacher, Floyd Hand, Ogallala Lakota man, he's passed now, but I still work with him so strongly. And I had the beautiful life and honor to work with him so he could teach me the things that he come to understand about being a spiritual interpreter and working with spirit in that way. And he said, my girl, he said, spirit won't come, to you all the way. You've got to be able to reach. He says, they're just not going to come 100% of the way. You've got to meet them. And so all of a sudden I realized that's where that power of intention, that's where that power of prayer, that's where that power of the mind, the body, the spirit, how are you going to raise your frequency to rise up to a place where you're in a alignment with working with all the powers that be. And it doesn't matter how you believe, how you pray, who you pray to, as long as you're leaning in with light and with love in the right way. And it's coming from that source of goodness inside of you, and you're tapping in, leaning and tuning into that, you're doing the right thing. So there I am at this ceremony with this strongest prayer in my heart that I can get through this, because I'm a single mom. By that time I had Dimitri, he was young, and I had my daughter Malia, she was even littler, and I couldn't leave. Like, that was the beauty of my life, because, I was given these two beautiful children against all odds, and they became my driving force to stay here, because I'm in such clear communication with spirit that I don't have fear of death. I work with them all the time. Would I be fine to just come back and be a guide that works with you from the other side, or Aaliyah from the other side? Absolutely, happily. But while I'm here, I'm going to utilize this to the greatest good that I can. And because I have these beautiful children as vessels for love, it gives me something to push for and lean for. So there I am. Imagine that I am up on top of this mountain, And where this mountain is, it's actually kind of a larger portion of the mountain. Then there's kind of this saddle in between, and then there's a smaller portion. I was sat right there in the middle of this saddle. And that altar that I'm in is not big. It's maybe, 5 feet by maybe 4 or 5 feet square. It's marked by the cardinal points, the north, the south, the east, the west, and all those directions mean something to us. All those directions mean something to a great deal of the people that understand how to work in harmony with the earth and all her inhabitants. So there I am. I'm in this altar space of mine, and the wind is incessant. This particular year was hotter than I had ever remembered it. It was incredibly taxing for my physical capsule of a body. And it was very taxing for what I call my Brandy brain, my analytical brain that I've been, utilizing to navigate so far. So I'm sitting in this altar, and my vow going up there was that I was not going to come down until it was gone. And oftentimes our vow will be, okay, we'll go for, however long. But this time, no, it was open-ended, because I just needed to meet with spirit. And if they needed me longer for my own vibration to raise to a point where my body would let go of what it needed to let go of, so be it. And I was determined with all of me to adhere to that vow. And the love that I have for my life and my children is my fuel to not back down and not quit and not give up on my own self and my own ability to bring forth spirit to the degree that I would need to move the needle to get rid of these cells. So there I am up there, and it had been a number of days without food, and some good amount of time without water. And I remember sitting at this altar, and I'm facing north. Where I was at that altar, I could actually see due north, and I could see to the south if I turned around. East and west was a little bit, the mountains were to each side of me. And as I sat down in that altar, and I remember just feeling so weathered and worn, because this incessant wind was so hot. And I had already understood the symptoms of heat stroke. I already understood what the physical body science says, what this physical body can and can't withstand. And I would look at my veins in my arms, and there were no veins. And I could feel the pounding of my heart, and no moisture in my mouth. And if I could have morphed into anything, shape-shifted, if you will, into anything, it would have been an earthworm. It would have been an earthworm to burrow into the earth, because there were even a couple times that I would lift up the blanket that I had taken up, that I had on the ground, and I would cover myself with it, because it was the only way that I could get some shade, that it was the only way that I could be close enough to Machaina, Mother Earth, to make me feel like I was going to be okay. Because I was so deep in my Brandy brain and the analytical mind and the veins that were not there and the moisture that I didn't have, that all of a sudden I felt spirit give me this thought. And I heard the words, "What are you here for?" And it kind of pulled me back into my center again. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm here to heal. And I could almost feel them be like, well, and then I started to pray. And I went into my center, and through the experiences, much of which, when you get a hold of my book, and whoever is listening, I look forward to hearing your feedback when you hear my book, because I talk a lot about these stories. And some of the ways that I'll pray, and when I was younger, I would get into that space, my third eye, and I would focus all my energy on my third eye. And all of a sudden, when I would hit that mark, my guides would let me see what my dad would refer to as a ring thunder. It was like lightning that would go around in a circle in my mind's eye. And it was almost like, yeah, baby girl, that's where you want to be. And so it was like meeting a target. And after this many years of tuning in and leaning in the relentless way that I've needed to do it, it became like a muscle, and I'm very strong in that way now. And so I'm sitting up there and I'm in this altar, and it's dire straits of the physical world. But I start to pray. And quickly, because I've fasted and because my Hochoko, my own source within me, wanted so much, my soul wanted to be well. And because I'm sitting on this beautiful, beautiful mountain that so many people had been on, Spirit was right there to meet me in all the potency that I came to them with. And as I'm leaning in and praying, all of a sudden, I am so far gone. My spirit is so far gone, merging with Tunkashala, merging with that great spirit, that God aspect of everything, that I lost complete track of the physical world. Next thing you know, I don't know how much time had passed, and I feel myself come back into my body. And I look around, and everything has a different cast to it, like I'm seeing through Spirit's eyes in a different way. But the curious thing was, there was no thirst. My heart rate had come down. I was not overheating. My body had completely balanced itself. Mm. But once I was in my body and my Brandy brain was back in again, all of a sudden, my heart starts to pound and my body starts to react as if I am overly physical, if you will. And I've left that spiritual space. So there again, I go into it and I lean in and I get myself centered and I focus on my third eye, lean into Spirit, and I'm gone again. And I'm working with Spirit in such a beautiful depth of a way. And that was my third day that I was up there. And there was a part of me that when the morning would come, you know, I'd look to the east and I'd greet the sun. And the sun wouldn't rise, you know, down on the horizon because, again, that mountain was right there. And so for me, I don't know what time my dawn was, but by the time I could see the sun peeking over that hill, it didn't feel like those previous days didn't feel like it took long for it to meet the other side in the west where it would then set. But that last day, I felt like Spirit was pushing me. And I believe that just like a mother will lift their child and be like, come on, sweetheart, you can do this. You can do this. We believe in you. That's what it felt like, because they would push me just a little bit further. And they'd let me have that reprieve when I would go so deep into Spirit to my heart rate come down, my everything come down, because my Spirit was superseding the physical world. The Spirit was able to move the needle of my physical body so that the physical body wasn't in a place of pain anymore, wasn't in a place of that dire straits that I had just felt. But that last day, my word, my friend, it felt like it took hours for that sun to move even just a little bit. And that was the biggest challenge, because at that point in my life, you know, I was a little bit more by the clock, a little bit more like, okay, I can do this, you know, and I'm gauging how long this day is going to be and how much strength I'm going to have before that sun can set behind that west-facing mountain here. But that day was different. The perception in me was different. It felt like it took forever. And it took forever because it was a gift from Tunkashala. Because had it gone over there, would I have had the wherewithal to lean in that way? Because they were showing me what to do, what not to do, what to do, what not to do. And then once I realized that, and I sat in a space of gratitude and the most humbled space you can imagine. here with just me, spirit, Tunkashla, God energy, Mahaina, Mother Earth. And I am just one. I am no better than that ant that is right there in front of me, or that butterfly that keeps frequenting around me like my visitor. And once I was in that space where I wasn't counting the time anymore, and I wasn't looking at the sun, wondering how quick it was going to go behind that mountain, once I had surrendered to this beautiful gift that they gave me of understanding, my lesson was complete. And the sun sat behind that western facing mountain. And the minute that I saw that last little glimmer go back behind there, all of a sudden, I had to use the restroom. And you don't have to use the restroom after you've been up there for days and days. It's not a thing. So I opened my altar the way that we do, and I went out and I found a spot and I used the restroom. And the only thing that was coming out were these cells and this blood, and the cancer was releasing itself from my body. And I knew it. It was this irrevocable clarity that it was gone. And I just wept. And I went back into my altar and I just curled up. And I laid like I was, I'm going to cry right now. Like I'm laying in my mother's arms, because that's what it felt like. Because all of a sudden here, it's just me, little me, but taught such a beautiful lesson. And to be held in that space, even after all that, and the wind and the dirt and the scenario, if I could have just kept going with it, I would have. It was so beautiful and I didn't want to leave. But I knew that that was my cue, that they met me and they said, okay, Aishta, it's done now. It's all good. You're going to be good. And so I packed up the things that I needed to pack up from my space and said a prayer, turned to the directions and met the spirits in those directions, in the sense of prayed to them and gave gratitude for all that beautiful knowledge and learning. And then I came down off the mountain with full faith and understanding that there was not another thing I needed to do if I didn't want to, that I would be okay, that I didn't need to go to the doctor. I didn't need to have any Western medicine verification, validation that what I had been through was actually what I had been through, because they wouldn't understand it anyway. They wouldn't believe what I had just been through anyway. And that is that connection that now I walk with, and that I am ever so happy to share, ever so happy to help people understand that every single one of you guys that are listening to this, you have that capacity, because where you come from is spirit. We are here to visit, and then eventually we get to go home. But during that time while we're here, we have all that crew on the other side, all your angels, all your guides, all the beings that walk with you, that are going to hold you and carry you to help you get through whatever you're going through. And that's the thing that I am here to help people to understand.
That is such a powerful story. The way that story is woven, and I could feel the spirit moving through you, almost as if spirit was the one that was doing the talking, right? That was guiding the frequency that was coming forth. And you led it with talking about the power of prayer, the power of intention, and having the responsibility within of recognizing that if this is to begin, then I have to make this choice. There's something that I have to do to be able to activate this moving forward. And then it's almost like giving ourselves permission to surrender to the Great Spirit to come forward to have its way with us, right?
Exactly, exactly. And with what you said, I want to clarify that just the very existence is a prayer in and of itself, that your very breath is a prayer, that you are the living, walking, breathing prayer of your ancestors, those who did not even know of you, but believed in who they were and their offspring and their lineage, and had so much faith and love in who they are and their generations moving forward. You are a product of that. And to understand that your existence is living, walking, breathing prayer. And I don't want people to believe that they've got to find someplace outside of them to find this wellness. They've got to understand first and foremost that it comes from within them. They've got to first and foremost understand that they are that lighthouse. That then when they have that, absolutely merge with others, absolutely bring forth that spiritual way of being to the places outside of you. But where people of our modern world fall short is they put all the power outside of them. Yes. And they become human doings, not human beings. They become what I need to do, where I need to go, these kinds of things. And that is absolutely not where it's at. When I was up there on that mountain, I had literally nothing. And that was everything. That was everything. And it didn't matter who was with me. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was within me. And I need people to understand that that is within them as well. And even when they feel like they are in the blackest darkness, because there is a great, great deal of darkness that wants to pose challenge while we are here. And honestly, that is just the nature of Earth. That is the nature of infinite possibility, is it not? Mm-hmm. If we have infinite possibility, but only on the good stuff, well, that's not infinite possibility. And so when I was younger and I was dealing with a lot of these growing pains, if you will, spiritually, I would have quite a few times when in my culture, we say the word shicha, that means dark energy or lower forces. And it doesn't matter the people that you talk to. Every culture that I have come into has a word for lower level energy or dark energy. And it's nothing to be feared. That's what I need everybody to understand. It's nothing to be feared because it is something that can be fed. Like if you lean into it and you lean in and you really navigate the fears and the worries and the what ifs, and you play these visualizations in your mind of the worst case scenario, well, you're kind of magnetizing, lower level stuff. Whereas it doesn't have to be that way. Just as we've got mind, body, spirit, and we have the choice to raise that frequency of each one of them, what are the thoughts that you're going to be thinking that are going to raise the frequency and vibration of your mind? That is what I ask you to lean into at this moment. So when I was younger and I would feel a lot of shicha or lower level stuff around me, and I would feel a lot of fear, I would have bad dreams, I would have experiences. There would be people that would come around that felt like they were dark. And I remember going to Floyd, my greatest teacher. And I said, Ate, which means dad, because he took me like a daughter. Once my dad passed, he became my dad. And I said, Ate, sometimes I just feel so much darkness around me and so much spirit. I know there's good as well, but I can't tell the difference sometimes. And he said, my girl, if you feel spirit and you don't know what they are, he says, I want you to sit. And when you sit, I want you to pray. And he said, I want you to invite that spirit, invite all of them to come and pray with you. He said, start to pray for the children, pray for the babies, pray for the elders, pray for those who don't have food, pray for the animals, the wingeds, pray for those who are chose to come here to walk a life showing people what not to do. Because we are all here and all teachers and all students simultaneously, yeah? And so there I would be young and in that fearful place, and I'd burn my sage because that's what we do. And I would sit and I would start to pray. And even if I couldn't even summon certain things to pray for, I would just have this prayer of, thank you for all the blessings. Thank you for my family. Thank you. It didn't matter. And I would just put it on repeat. And notoriously, every single time, if there was that darker, lower level energy that was bogging me down, it would leave. It could not stand the light that was starting to emerge. And I'll share one more thing. This was a beautiful teaching that Spirit brought to me. It was actually June of 2020. And I have an altar space that I like to pray at every night. And this particular night, I was kneeling down and I speak to my guides like I'm speaking with you. And I was talking to them. And all of a sudden, my spirit came out of my body and I was on the other side with them. And as I was on the other side with them, I could feel the presence of my dad and my mom and all my guides. And I could just feel this army of light beings with me. And the veil that was between us and what I was looking at, me at my altar, was as if water and air and light were to merge, was this veil. And my prayer as I was kneeling there at that altar parted that veil. It became like a window, if you will, and it became crystal clear. And all my guides, all the angels just peered through that window at me. And just the love that poured through was unbelievable. And as I was on the other side and bared witness to the love that they felt for me, it changed the prayer that I was praying as my physical body was kneeling. And all of a sudden, what was originally talking to my guides and praying in the way that I had come to understand to pray, all of a sudden became, thank you for loving me. Thank you for everything that you do for me each and every day. Thank you so much for all the strength to be who I need to be on this journey. Thank you for making me the most exquisite, understanding light being so that I can be the mother that I am here to be, so that I can be the person that has this business, so that I can be who I need to be. It became thank you with all of me. And right then, they showed me the purest key, the truest key to manifestation. Because as I was there and I was feeling this, it was done. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts. It was that merging with spirit. And so, yes, our intention is a prayer, yes. But boy, when we really lock in and we really connect in the way, and we really allow ourselves to feel the presence of our crew on the other side who walks with each and every one of you and will not leave your side. And once you get over there to the other side, when we all get to go home one day and you meet your crew, the joy that is going to be there is going to be unbelievable. And you'll be able to look back on those moments and see through with such clarity. And you'll feel how much love went into every single experience. What we perceive here in this physical body as good, bad, whatever it is, there will be a tremendous amount of love, because all of a sudden that facade, that mask, that amnesia that we walk with while we are here will be no more. And all of a sudden it'll be absolutely you in your entirety. And as you strengthen the muscle of your spirit, walking through and you find different modalities of working with spirit, whether it be coming to an RPM energy work session or, working with John or working with Aaliyah or whomever, becoming Reiki or finding your heart told you to go to Peru and you find a medicine person that understands plant medicine and you discover a lot about yourself. Or you find yourself in the middle of a ceremony in South Dakota, it doesn't matter. Dokashni, we say it doesn't matter. It all is going to the same place. And as you strengthen that muscle through these experiences, your life that you know it to be is going to raise to a whole other level, to a level that you didn't even understand was available. And you will be that walking beacon of light that will then be a warrior for good, soldier for good, light bearer, light bringer, light worker. And there will be a lot of people that are drawn to you because of that. And ultimately, that is the gift, because all that we are is we're walking each other home. That's all that we are doing.
So true. And thank you again for sharing yet another beautiful story to be able to weave the lesson so that it's able to land and to have a real life example, because that's what it is to be the living example, to be the living radiance of what it is that we know to be true. And I really love how you spoke to no separation and recognizing that we are not separate from source, that we are not separate from spirit, from energy, or whatever anyone chooses to call it. That is our connection and our own divine right and our own experience with that. And that it's always available wherever we are. Right now, I'm sitting here, you're sitting there, and there is no separation, because it is in all things, as all things, through all things, for all things.
Yeah, exactly.
And how beautiful and powerful it is. And I love that you spoke to that recognition of that, that embodiment of that, of where we are able to receive that and know that we aren't separate from that. And the power that's available, the infinite potentiality that exists within all of us. And you spoke to that when you were inviting our listeners into that space to breathe in that capacity of recognizing that whether the Dalai Lama or whether the medicine man, the medicine woman, the priest, the whatever it is, we are all participating and receiving in that infinite reservoir of the eternal now that is fully available for each and every single one of us to receive.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are weaving a tapestry. We are weaving a tapestry. We are all threads of this beautiful tapestry. And to be in your most purest, truest form is the strongest thread that you bring forth. My dad used to always talk about the power of prayer as being threads of a rope, but I believe it's your power of who you really, really are as well. And in all your authenticity. And that is very important to understand, that there is a soul journey, that there is a gift, a soul, a heart song, if you will, that we all have. And when you are authentic and true to that, and you lean into that with such a relentless faith and steadfastness, the thread that you offer to the greater good is unbelievable. And my wish, my prayer is that everybody can understand and lean in and find out what has been their heart song from their earliest moment, when there is nobody else around, and it doesn't matter what has happened around them or what they were born into, but what they actually came here to bring, and lean into that, whether it looks like it's something that society would, recognize as important. Dokashni, we say that doesn't matter, that it is vital. It is more than important. It is dire to live in a way that you are so authentic to who you are. In this life, when I was very young, in our culture, we're given an Indian name, and our Indian name is actually, our heart song. Really, it's given to us by one of the elders, a spiritual elder, a medicine person who can tap in and lean into all that is and work with the spirits to bring forth this knowledge. And our Indian name walks with us. And mine in this life was given to me when I was very little. And it is Wakana Jiwi, which means standing holy woman. And the man that gave me that Indian name, his name is Frank White Buffalo Man. And he is actually the grandson of Sitting Bull. And the name Wakanaji was actually Sitting Bull's daughter's name. And I am honored to carry that with me in this life. I'm honored because now I understand so clearly the position that I've been given to stand in who I am. And it took a long time for me to evolve, to understand truly how to embody all that I am. Because there was always that part of me, that very physical mind, that made me feel like I needed to be small, play small, that there was a big world out there that I couldn't stand up to or fit in with. And I believe that we all go through that, because to me it correlates with that fog, that amnesia, so to speak, that we have while we're here. And really, this is just a journey back to self. This is just a journey of understanding who you are. And so, that name, now I understand so much more than I ever did before. And I'm honored to carry it. And I've decided to call my podcast Standing Holy. Standing Holy. And of course, my English name, Brandy Tuttle, will be in there as well. But who I am, my soul understands my Lakota name. And it is what I lead with and what I guide with. And it bookends the ceremonies that I've been in. And I truly believe that my success in getting through all the physical challenges was because Spirit kept pushing me back to owning who I am, pushing me back to my roots, pushing me back to understanding, what it is that comes to me and through me that makes this heart tick, that makes me who I am. And there were many times in my life that I would fall flat, that there wouldn't be the success in something. But even in that was the lesson. And in so was the success. No matter what is happening, we are always on this journey that whether it looks like it's good or it looks like it's bad, we are learning. And that is that silver lining to be able to, understand. And, I just got a flash of a ship. If a ship is going a certain direction and it needs to change course, you change course subtly and it makes a big, big change. So we get the opportunity to calibrate our navigation throughout our life. But our strongest, most intuitive self that is in alignment with the greater good of all, that is the oneness with everything, is that heart song. For me, it is Wakanaji. For you, it is something else. And nobody gets to tell you what that is. It comes from source, it comes from spirit. But you walk with it every day of your life. And to understand that that is your strength. And now, not only walk with it, but lead with it. and lead with it with a strength and a voraciousness, a relentlessness, knowing that that is the answer to all that is going on this earth. But if we were all to lean into who we truly are, not leaning into the facade or the fears or the things like that, my, oh my, what a world that would be, yeah?
So incredibly powerful. Everything that you just shared is, I'm sitting here listening, and I already can't wait to go back and listen again, because it's literally a living, breathing prayer for humanity, for each and every individual that is afforded to listen to this and to receive the wisdom that's come forward. I'm incredibly grateful and honored to share this time with you. And you spoke of your heart song and the thread that you are weaving this cosmic tapestry with. Can you speak more to, you shared about the podcast of Standing Holy. Can you share what that is coming forward and what's moving through you to carry forward this message to humanity?
Humanity, to me, has had such separation. There's too much separation. That has been the downfall of so much. To understand that we're all from the same place, all from the same source. To share our stories, no matter what it is. To share our truth, our center, our heart song with one another strengthens one another. Because, when I have listened to your podcasts and the things that you have shared, I gain strength from that. There was a day when I was at my house in Sedona, I got so much done because I just had this headset in and just listened to your podcast the whole entire day. And I felt like superhuman by the end of the day. So I say thank you. And I can feel your thread that you are weaving into humanity. And I can feel the people who you spoke about and their contribution, and you spoke to, and how they would give their contribution. And that is what I am inviting with mine. Yes, I will be sharing, words from Spirit, because when Spirit comes to me and through me, I am just a vessel. It is not me that carries this wisdom, but I am open to it. And I have absorbed the wisdom that has been coming to me and through me from the time I was very young. And so I embody it. So it may look like I am in this space, but really I am a willing participant. I am a willing participant of something much greater. And yes, I've had the beautiful opportunity to pray and work with people from all around the world. The times that I have prayed and worked with medicine men and healers in Peru and in Hawaii and in Egypt, and going into the King's Chamber, the Big Pyramid, and working with the divine beings there, and going into the inner earth. And yes, I've had these beautiful journeys, but they are not just mine. They are for all of us to benefit from. And so that is what, for me, this podcast is about, because I was given a vision of my life, and my journey on this path has been to walk in the way that I've walked, to experience the things that I've experienced. And my life was hardwired to be exactly what it was. And in my earlier years, of course, very challenging. And as time has gone by and my repertoire of tools that I use for my spiritual work has grown, all of a sudden, my lessons have lessened a little bit, so that now I can be a servant of bringing forth this information. And I actually have had people in their very analytical mind and very physical world mind say, "You're so lucky that you have gone through so much hardship." And I had to pause when I would hear that. And yes, I am blessed. Not necessarily because of the hardship, but because of the connection that was able to summon. But that is not mine alone. And that is what the podcast, Standing Holy, is going to be about. Because people need to understand that Standing Holy is, yes, it is a name that was gifted to me long ago that I get to borrow for this life. 'Tis not mine. This information that comes through is for everyone. And that this information and the way that it will come through is going to be beautifully gifted and blessed. And people can absorb to the degree that their soul will allow them to. There is no time or space in spirit. And we can grow by absorbing other people's energies. I did a women's retreat not long ago and did an energy work session for about 70 women in this room. And it was beautiful. Leah got to be there, and I was so happy for that. And what was amazing from my perspective, because typically I do these sessions one-on-one, happy to do that, and it's very custom. And I was curious how spirit was going to work with a whole room of people. But what was amazing is that they showed me the gifts that everybody had. I could sense the energies of every single woman in there. And some that were very evolved in maybe their higher chakras, their intuition, maybe some that really understood, this physical world, and they have their earth, their root chakra nailed, like they are good. There were people that really were solid with their personal power chakras. So their ability to bring forth these higher chakras down through the heart and navigate and make a decision based on their heart and implement it into these lower chakras is amazing. So all of a sudden, from my perspective, there was this washing, if you will, of energy that was going between these women, and they were sharing who they were. They were sharing their essence. They were sharing their heart song. And there was no above, below. We were all even. I am no better above anybody else. My experiences are unique. Yes. And I will share what I've got, and I will absorb what is your strength. And we will together become stronger and together become one. And that is the answer from what I understand it to be.
We all have medicine for each other.
Yes. Yes, we do. And we are. And that darkness, Shicha, that Shicha will do its best to pin people against each other.
Yeah.
My sister, back in the day, I was 15 when she passed. And when she passed, having taken her own life, the story, it's a very deep story, and it's in my book, but I'll just tap onto a piece of it. She was in this shroud, this veil of darkness that was so hard to peel back what felt very hard. She had to summon the light from the inside, and together we could have connected with that light, I do believe. And what was interesting is that the moment that decision was made that she wasn't wanting to be here anymore, her spiritual higher self, her heart song, was there and regretted that decision. And I'm sure that there will be a podcast deeply invested in this, because the darkness that is available will gravitate to people who are in that alignment, and people whose auras, whose energy field might be a little bit down. And so anything that breaks our energy field down, anything that is, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I stay away from low vibrating foods. I don't do, a lot of the things, but that's my choice because I believe in mind, body, spirit. So how can I raise the vibration of each of these? And I do things diligently each day to raise my frequency in all three of those so that I can stay in a space of wellness. And, to be able to be that light, to bring forth that light is incredibly important, especially when there's people who are going through a great deal of darkness, because we need to ride tandem on each other. You know, there's been a great deal of dark that is, I don't want to say dark, people in need and hardship that have come to me since I've launched my book, which I didn't realize that launching a book that is geared to help people get through the hardest things in their life was naturally going to draw to me people going through very hard things.
Yeah.
And so now I've recalibrated my own self and help to understand how to keep myself very strong energetically to be able to contain that lighthouse, because it felt for a while like even though I had a lighthouse, maybe that storm was more powerful than what the lighthouse could withstand. I built a new lighthouse, and we have the capacity to do that. And so, yeah, you know, there's a lot of light to be shared, and we need it right now, John.
We certainly do. And we've definitely opened that portal of light during the time that we've shared together with what has come forward. And we could sit here and we could talk for hours. We could talk for days.
Indeed.
I could listen to the stories, and I invite our listeners to definitely tap in to Brandy's wisdom and the stories, because the power of story is something that we have forgotten. And we've sat around the campfire and those stories of what happened throughout the day and what we have shared were the lessons of how we've navigated this lifetime. And now that we've gotten away as a grouping of humans from the power of story in that capacity, the invitation is to return back to that. And thank you for weaving that in so beautifully today and powerfully. And one thing that I ask every single guest that comes on this podcast is, what do you think that we can do to support a more sustainable and harmonious co-creative experience? How can we be better together?
It is owning that heart song, hands down, in all its authenticity. And when people tell me, they come to me and they're like, I don't know what my heart song is, then I lead them back to frequency, because frequency is the beginnings of everything. It is everything. So raising the frequency and the vibration, mind, body, spirit, and understanding, again, bringing them back to their body, their center. How are they nourishing the physical body, their earth property? How are they nourishing the water, their blood, their lymphatic? How are they nourishing their breath? Because we can go, yes, weeks without food, days without water, but we can't go long without breath. Breath is the invitation of spirit into our body. Breath is the thing that allows us to continue forth right now. That breath flows through the vocal cords, creates sound. Our voices carry the power. That's why the pules and chants in Hawaii, that's why the songs in every culture I know, every power of prayer contains song, contains sound, contains music, contains that frequency. So I bring them back to how they can raise their frequency of all four of those things. Get outside, be barefoot on the ground, breathe the air with intention. And breathe it in. When they breathe it in with one big, and then you give one more little pump. So it's like and at the end, all of a sudden, that is how I push this energy through my body. And when I do that, I can feel the presence of spirit, because that's how I intended so. And that is forging that life force energy into my blood. And the blood is going to carry that life force energy through every single cell. So again, your elements are co-creating together to make you who you are. That those cells that are cancerous, do they have to stay? Well, my experience says no. How are we going to get rid of them? We're going to lean in, mind, body, spirit. We're going to lean into all those elements. And we're going to lean into spirit in any way, shape, or form. And you cannot have faith and fear at the same time. They do not go together. You get to choose one or the other. So lean in with all the faith in the world and raise your frequency, my loves. Raise your frequency. Raise your vibration. All of a sudden, the things that are dark, that you're perceiving a dark around you, are going to fall away as if they are just taken away on angels' wings, if you will. And the things that are built for you in your new frequency of love, of light, of being grateful, powerful, and strong are going to navigate to you. They cannot not. They can't help but come to you. They will be there when you are there to meet you exactly where you are.
Yes, yes. And so much yes to that.
Yes.
Thank you, Brandy. I am truly honored to, again, to share this time with you and to learn more about your story, about your heart song, and what frequency that you carry forward in reminding people of who they are, guiding them back home. Right. And it's truly a gift, because I'm sitting here listening and I feel the alignment within each and every single one of my cells being activated and harmonized, and remembering even more to come back to the essence of what I know to be true within and throughout. And what a beautiful cellular dance that is, and cellular. So, yes, please.
I was going to say, and so it goes out to all the listeners. I just had a vision. I just had a vision of, it was like so many of them, just feeling their heart at that moment. And that's what I ask. That's what I ask. Hands in front of your heart. Feel that. Get into that space. Navigate from there. And you are whole. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And so it is.
So it is.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners as a closing statement? And beyond that, where can our listeners find you? Either on social, your website, anywhere that they're able to tune in with you and connect with you.
Yeah. Well, my book, I self-publish, so it's on Amazon. So that's available there. And then my Instagram is I am Brandy Tuttle. And then Grateful, Powerful, Strong at Gmail is a great way. Brandy at Grateful, Powerful, Strong is even a better way. And there will be other options. But yeah, for the social media, the I am Brandy Tuttle is a great one. And then to look out for the podcast that's going to be coming very, very shortly.
I'm so excited for it.
Thank you.
Just in our conversations of what is coming through for that is, I'm grateful. It's powerful. It's strong.
Yeah. And we are all strong.
Absolutely. And stronger together.
Oh boy, yes, indeed. Thank you, my friend.
You are so welcome. And for all of my listeners out there and anybody that taps into this broadcast, invite this energy within and tune in with your heart song. And allow that to move through and to course through, effortless, so that it navigates itself within and throughout as it knows no bounds, and it reverberates throughout this entire cosmic tapestry that we are so gifted to experience in this lifetime, in this incarnation. And within the show notes below, you'll be able to have all of the information to be able to tune in with Brandy. And once again, Thank you so much for joining us, Brandy. It's been an honor, and I'm looking forward to navigating this human incarnation and this experience this time and sharing in the journey. And to all of the listeners, we are better together.
Better together.
Thank you all. If this podcast resonated with you, or if you feel that there's someone that would, please pass it on. That's what Reverberations is all about, echoing a message that resonates within. And if you or anyone that you are connected with is feeling disconnected from passion, purpose, stuck in a feedback loop of repeating patterns that aren't providing results that are in alignment with what you desire, let's free up some bandwidth, open up the possibilities, and embrace the fire within. Visit Embrace the Fire Within, select a time to connect, and I look forward to our conversation. Have an amazing day. Love you all. The medicine of the heart. What is possible within and throughout when we give ourselves permission to open our heart, to receive, to breathe, to weave love into existence in the present moment, to be the living evidence, to be the love that we wish to receive. When we walk the path of our heartfelt desire, our soul's yes, our most intimate and expansive vision begins to show up. We begin to show up as we are magnetized by our curiosity. We are guided by a force that works behind the scenes. Synchronistic encounters of the infinite kind begin to show up for us. And when we drink our own medicine, taste the fruits of our labor, listen to our own wisdom, practically apply it, radically trust in the process, the divine orchestration, we embody the frequency of love within, irradiated throughout. It permeates, it pervades, it reverberates, it echolocates to, like what Charles Eisenstein says, to a more beautiful world that our heart knows is possible, to truly be better together. When we open to that space and give ourselves permission to live the life that we know to be true, to love ourselves through it, to be the love that we wish to receive, to no longer be in victim consciousness or to hold ourselves back, to become fully alive, to not just